All right, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about the most common types of insurance coverage that we see. It's not all types of insurance, it's the most common types, so don't expect us to cover everything. I'm really only going to cover the five most common types. Those are bodily injury, uninsured motorist, underinsured motorist, Medpay, also called medical payments. It's not PIP in Missouri, it's Medpay, and then also umbrella policy. So those are the things we're going to talk about. All right, so the first one we're going to talk about is bodily injury. Bodily injury, that's the most common type that you might think of whenever it comes to a car crash or if you're at a grocery store and you slip and fall. That is a bodily injury coverage. It's a liability coverage where they're going to pay whenever they are negligent. That only triggers whenever they're negligent. All right, this does not trigger if, let's say, you're at fault for the car crash and you go after them for for medical treatment and for pain and suffering. They have to be at fault in some way, and that's a common misconception that we get on these types of cases where you can get it just because they have insurance or just because you have insurance. It's not quite true. The next thing I want to talk about though is uninsured motorists. Another common misconception is that you get it just because you have it, right? That's not true either. This is where the other driver is actually uninsured and they are at fault. Okay, they have to be at fault. This is not a no fault insurance, which I will get to later when it comes to no fault insurance. There is one that I'll talk about, but this is not the one. This is where the other driver is not insured. And every policy in the state of Missouri and in almost every state in the country, I say almost, it's not every state in the country, but almost every state in the country, there's uninsured motorists on on your auto policy, no matter what type of policy you have. So even if you have liability only coverage, that's only applicable to property damage. That's not applicable to your injury claim. You still have uninsured motorist coverage. The next one we're going to talk about, it's another one of your coverages, right? The bodily injury is the other driver's insurance coverage or the at-fault party's insurance coverage. Uninsured motorist is your coverage through your policy. This next one is underinsured motorist coverage, also through your policy. This is where the other driver does have insurance, so they do have auto insurance. However, it's not enough to cover all your injuries, all your damages, your pain and suffering damages, your medical bills. I'll give you this scenario, and you have to be very careful about what insurance companies you choose. So if you're watching this, hopefully it's before something happens to you. Hopefully nothing ever actually does happen to you. But if you're watching or listening to this, hopefully it's before. That way you know which insurance companies to go with and which ones not to go with. But here's the scenario. Let's say you go with a good insurance, relatively good. I use that word loosely, but a relatively good insurance. Let's say it's through State Farm Insurance, and you have underinsured motorist coverage. The other driver has bodily injury, and they only have 25,000, but you've got 100,000 in underinsured motorist coverage. Well, if your damages are high enough, you would get the full $125,000. Let me give you another situation, and this is where it's really, really important that you have a good insurance company because if you have an insurance company through Shelter Insurance, American Family Insurance, or Progressive, and there's a few others, but those are the main ones. What they will do is they will subtract that 25,000 from the 100, and they'll only pay you an additional 75,000 for a total of 100,000. So if you have good insurance, you get a total of 125 in that situation. If you got bad insurance in that situation, you'll get a total of 100. So it's a significant difference of $25,000, and you're paying the same amount. So that's the key part of this. You're paying the same amount. So you have to make sure that you are going through a good insurance company. Let me give you a bad situation for you. Let's say that the other driver has $50,000 in coverage. You have $50,000 in underinsured motorist coverage and you're pretty banged up. Well, you'll get $0 from your insurance company. It's you're basically buying garbage insurance. You will never at any point, if you go through one of those insurance companies, get the full coverage that you paid for. You'll never get that 50,000, that full 100,000 because they will always subtract that out of it. So it's really, really important that you have a good insurance coverage. All right. The next one I want to talk about is Medpay. It's sometimes called medical payments. It's not PIP. PIP is something completely different. We don't have PIP in Missouri. We don't have PIP in Illinois. PIP is something different. It's medical payments coverage. And this is where it's a no fault insurance. So whether you're at fault or not, you could have caused the crash. This helps pay for your medical bills. This part's really, really important. Pays for your medical bills. That's why I call medical payments coverage. Those are costs incurred. Right. Really, really important. It's costs that are incurred to you. You can't get any pain and suffering through medical payments. So let's say you have $10,000 in MedPay and $30,000 in medical bills. Well, they'll pay $10,000 towards your medical bills. And what's really, really important, this is sort of an insider tip. have them make that check to you, not to the provider, because what you can do is you can negotiate those medical bills down, especially if you don't have health insurance. I'll give you that scenario. Let's say there's $30,000 in medical bills, and health insurance will normally pay them like let's say $7,500. They'll your insurance company will pay you $10,000, and you can negotiate the medical bills with the medical providers, get them down to 7,500, and then you'll actually be able to get $2,500 to you. So that's a little insider tip. So if you are handling a case by yourself, make sure you do know that. And then let's move on to the next thing, which is umbrella, the next insurance coverage umbrella policy. And this is a situation, it's usually higher wealth individuals. I won't say high wealth, I'll say higher wealth individuals have this. I do recommend it for everybody. I recommend you having all of these insurance coverages and quite a bit of each of them. But this is a situation. Let's say that the other driver is, let's say they've got $300,000 in insurance, or 100,000, or whatever it may be. They usually don't have lower than 100 if they've got an umbrella policy. But let's say you do have those coverages. What the umbrella does is it prevents the other person. Let's say you're in a car crash, a really serious car crash, and you've got hundreds of thousands of dollars in medical bills. That umbrella policy actually protects them personally, and it'll kick in. So it's that umbrella, umbrella. It covers a lot of other negligent acts, but it protects them personally, and it'll be triggered in that situation where you've got a lot of medical bills. Auto insurance isn't there to cover all of it, and they're there to kick in to cover anything in excess of that, up to their limits. Obviously, the limits are usually at minimum 500 usually, and then upwards of tens of millions of dollars depending on the wealth of the individual. So all right, that is the last coverage that I'm going to go over. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call, 888-550-4026. Make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this video, and make sure you ring the bell. That way you know when our videos come out. Also, make sure to check us out on TikTok and Instagram, and like us on Facebook, where we have a lot of great videos every single day. All right, have a great day.